Yes.
Sure, this will give me a ride.
Yeah, okay.
Huh? We were done by 5:15.
Hopefully it's 5 minutes,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor.
Good evening. I'm going to call to order the Tuesday, February 21st, 2023 Planning Commission meeting. Would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Safarian,
Here.
Mr. Olaf,
Here.
Mr. Friesler,
Here.
Mr. Orvitz,
Here.
Chairman Wilkowski.
Here. Because we did not have a meeting last month, we are in line to elect a new chairman or retain the old chairman or elect a new chairman and a vice chairman. Mr. Orvitz is the vice chairman. I am the chairman. The floor is open for nominations.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Scott Winkowski for chairman and Rick Orvitz for vice
Chairman
chair.
pro.
I got the vice
Vice
chair.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no opposition, the motion carries. Scott Winkowski is approved as chairman of the Planning Commission and Rick Orvitz is vice chairman of the Planning Commission. Would ask for a motion to approve the November 15th, 2022 regular meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no opposition, the November 15th, 2022 regular meeting minutes are approved. The two matters before us today are Z 815-23 and Z 816-23. We will hear them together, but we will vote on them separately since they do involve the same parcels or locations. Mr. Gilmore.
I'm going to hand it over to our city administrator. Go ahead.
Thanks, Jim. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Planning Commission. So today, there were two applications made for zoning changes by the OEDF. And just to give a little context, we talked about these parcels at the last Planning Commission meeting, or one of the prior Planning Commission meetings. The Planning Commission voted to change two of the parcels to advanced manufacturing and then two of the parcels to the commercial industrial land use. And that went to the city council, and city council did vote it down. But the reason was city council wanted to see all four parcels come back before the Planning Commission to be rezoned as advanced manufacturing, rather than have two of the parcels as the commercial industrial. So as such, the requests came back in the form of two different votes. One for and what you see up on the screen is for the parcel to the west. That parcel is currently zoned as agricultural, is owned by the OEDF, and has been requested to be changed to advanced manufacturing. One of the residents in this nearby area, adjacent to the parcel, came in at the council meeting and would like to see a little bit more of a buffer between his property and whatever potential future development would occur at that property. So that was taken into consideration, and advanced manufacturing designation does that instead of the commercial industrial, because the setbacks are 50 feet or 100 feet from 50 feet. So 50 feet commercial industrial, 100 feet advanced manufacturing. So that gives a little bit more of a buffer, plus the aesthetic feel of the zoning requirements for advanced manufacturing make it a little bit more pleasing to the eye, so to speak. So that's for the parcel to the west, and then the three parcels to the east. JT, would you be able to go to that other map? Right up there we go. So the three parcels to the east are also all requested to be advanced manufacturing. Prior to this, the parcel all the way of these three parcels, I refer to them as bowling alleys, but that parcel that's furthest west was before requested to be commercial industrial, and the discussion on that was it could go either way. Commercial industrial would still give it a little bit more flexibility in what could be developed there, and also would conform to the other zoning designations of the parcel adjacent to it. So that was the reason why it was requested as commercial industrial prior to this, before it was voted down at the council meeting. And you know, the other two parcels still gave that buffer and that aesthetically pleasing look for what advanced manufacturing offers. So, but as such, it was coming back before the planning commission to be rezoned as advanced manufacturing. Just a few points, just so that they're on record. There are a few reasons why this is important to pass at this time. The OEDF has been working on submitting RFIs, and I'm going to ask Alec to come up here in a few moments to say a few words about this. The OEDF has been submitting RFIs to Jobs Ohio for leads that fit our community, for economic development leads that fit here and fit this designation. So those leads are coming in, and RFIs are being submitted. This has been the plan all along. Rezoning these parcels and this area in general has been planned. That road, Parkway Drive and Windscape, the connectors there, have been built. They were built just last year, and the utilities have been built in such a way to handle such an industrial load. So water and sewer utilities are big enough to handle that. So the investment has been made. And one of the other things is that this does conform to the citywide master plan. So the planning commission and citywide master plan falls in line with it. Now it is a little, the land use planning map in the citywide master plan, or the 2025 vision plan, has this whole area from west of Wynn and north of Corduroy. All of it is designated as future land use of industrial use. So slowly this has been happening, especially with Oregon Clean Energy 1, the potential for an Oregon Clean Energy 2 project, and then all of this industrial space. You see some of the buildings have already been built over there. So these are all things that have kind of been naturally happening over time. And the last point I wanted to make is that time is of the essence, because the RFIs are coming out. I mean, we are submitting RFIs on this through the OEDF. And for site selectors, when they come into a community, they want to make sure that they have assurance that these parcels that they are looking to develop on meet the zoning requirements, because they know what it takes. It takes time and it takes consideration to get something rezoned for them to be able to develop. So it's very important that if these parcels are going to be developed as industrial as planned, that these changes are made so that the RFI is going in. There is some assurance that these parcels do meet what they're looking to develop. I mean, they don't want to be in a position where they're making offers on properties or committing to certain development. I mean, that's wasted time on their part. And it's also, wasted money. So they want to have some assurances that these are in place. One of the number one things that they look for is zoning. So those are the few points that I wanted to make. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them. But at this time, I don't know, Alec, do you want to come up and say a few words?
Mr. Chairman,
Mayor?
before Alex speaks for the foundation, I'd like to say one other thing, that when this item came before City Council was in the process of trying to place a condition on to change the zoning, just like we are doing here today. I think because they thought it was possible with 6 votes of council members to alter the decision of the planning commission, which they can do by adding conditions, but they merely did not have the authority to completely change that. That's when they chose this route. So they were expressing the desire to actually pass much what we are presenting here today. but just didn't have the authority at that time.
Thank you, Mayor.
Well, I think, Joel, thank you for those points. Mayor, thank you for those points. I was just exactly what I was going to say. It's good to be back in front of you guys. I think if anything, this is a more regimented zoning change than what we had originally come to you with. So public process work, we heard the opinion of the folks, and we're back here again today to make this happen. Hopefully no issue, but as Joel stated, if you have any questions, happy to answer. So, the biggest thing is, like Joel said, for these site selectors, for these potential projects and RFIs that come through, it is very important that we have this land,
I
ready
like
to go.
for the people here, RFI, to explain to them what that is.
Yeah, so RFIs, we typically see them come through Jobs Ohio or the Regional Growth Partnership, which is an arm of Jobs Ohio. It's our regional economic development group, for those of you who don't know. And these project, or these RFIs rather, can be.
No, what is an RFI?
Yeah, they can be fairly lengthy.
Request
it's
for
a-
information.
Yeah, it's a document.
There you
that-
go.
yeah.
That's all I want.
I was gonna go into the long spiel.
No.
RFI, request for information.
Thank you. Go back to the other one, just so I'm clear on this too, and everyone else. That blue one hasn't changed. We voted on that one back in November as advanced manufacturing.
Well, council voted that down.
Go ahead. Oh, I was gonna say, the, you can see the icon on the screen here.
Right.
That parcel originally was requested to be commercial industrial.
Okay. All right, got it.
So,
Now I know. where I'm
The
at.
other two to
All right,
the
what
east
about the one
here-
on the, all right, what about the one on the left? Go to the blue one,
Yep.
light that one up. Did we vote on that one?
Yes, and that also was designated to be commercial industrial. to
Okay,
match.
that's why we have two with us today. Okay,
Correct.
that's what I'm trying to clear myself up, that we have changed. Both of them have changed from
Correct.
what we saw last time. Now, both of them are now more stringent requirements than they were back in November.
Correct.
Because we
For
have
building
gone, we
and
have gone
buffering.
from two parcels that were going to be commercial industrial to no parcels which are commercial industrial, and they are all advanced manufacturing,
Correct.
which has more requirements upon the builders in favor of what we believe the community than commercial industrial.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear on that. I want the people to be clear on that.
Mr. Chairman, was it the council's objection that why weren't they all advanced manufacturing? So now that we've changed this should appease the council, I suspect.
I can't speak for them, but that was the
their
discussion.
objection
The
at the
discussion was
time.
to make them all advanced manufacturing. Yes. And that was the reason why they voted it down.
Yes. And we've solved that issue now.
Thank you. I know some people have signed in, some people are here to speak. If you're here to speak either on behalf of and in favor of it or against it, doesn't matter. If you've signed in or you haven't signed in, you're allowed to come up and speak. Whoever wants to come first is more than welcome.
So, hi, my name is Brenda Gift. I live right there, 490 Wynn Road. I will be across the street from a house and then whatever you guys decide to do with that zoning. So I come here more with some questions. I have looked at the 2025 master plan. It's old and outdated. It references 2000 census. It doesn't have the advanced manufacturing. And so I have some concerns, and I don't have a yes or no until I get more information and can make that decision. Again, it's old and outdated. It references old signage, like how beautiful the Bell Tire sign was on Navarre. And I know we're updating things. I'm originally from Southern California. I'm used to Irvine, Newport, master communities. I worked in Cape Coral as a law enforcement officer. I built homes there as a custom home builder. And so I saw fabulous communities being built, And when I moved to Oregon and I chose to build a house here, I guess I had that expectation as well. And I know there's industry here, and I get that. So here's what I'd like to know. What does advanced manufacturing mean? What kind of businesses will that bring? I know it's potentially like biotech. Like how tall can those buildings be? And I'd like your definition of aesthetically pleasing. What does that mean? Is the 100 feet, 100-foot buffer, is that a vacant field? What does that mean? Are those like 2-foot trees? If you drive by the Toledo refinery down Navarre on the way here, there are trees, there's a berm, but I wouldn't say it's aesthetically pleasing, even though those things are there. So what does that mean? My other question is about the traffic pattern. I know there's going to be an update to Wynn, Cedar Point, out to Stadium, but you also know that Norfolk Southern blocks Corduroy all the time, and sometimes for more than an hour. Also, they block Wynn Road. Actually, that could have been us, right, instead of Palestine. Also looking ahead, not here, but further out, Enviroscape has a permit right now to build up to 300 million cubic yards of hazardous waste, potentially bringing in 600,000 tankers of hazardous waste into our community. What does all this mean for us? I have grandchildren I've moved into the community. I've invested in this community. So I have those concerns.
Well, Mr. Chair.
It's the best question I've gotten in 15 years.
That's good.
Mr. Mazer.
There's, I mean, obviously it's subject to opinion too. When you say aesthetically pleasing, what does that mean?
What is the requirement?
The requirements are listed in the Advanced Manufacturing Code. I can go through a lot of the different details with the help of Jim here too, but you had said, what is the building height? The maximum building height is 60 feet.
Okay, so approximately what, 3 stories?
Yes. The setback requirement is 100 feet, as opposed to commercial industrial is 50 feet.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, the master plan of 2025 encourages berms. So I see that kind of when I go down towards
One of
Westscape.
the problems with the master plan is we did not have advanced manufacturing as a zoning category when they did the master plan.
Okay,
So that's some of the things that are referred to as becoming commercial or agricultural residential. We've now gotten the advanced manufacturing, which more is an easing into it.
okay.
So I
Should-
don't think the 2025 plan has been updated to include this advanced manufacturing kind of a buffer that we're trying to use. I don't know where we stand with that. Obviously, the 2025 plan costs a lot of money and manpower to put that together. But
Sure. But it
the
was like
advanced,
back
from what I
in
understand, the
06.
advanced manufacturing is only probably less than 6 or 7 years old even,
Oh,
if
No,
that.
Less than that, it's only
It
about
was-
2 years old.
2 years old.
Right, it was in 2019
So,
that was
yeah,
added to
so-
the
Correct.
zoning.
So we're trying to get a feel as well for the advanced manufacturing and use it as a buffer between what would be residential, agriculture, and the industrial. And so
So it's more of a light industrial is what you're saying. So why
More
would
aesthetically pleasing buildings with the bigger offsets.
So-
for the buffer.
aesthetically, I go back to aesthetically pleasing because I look at so much is there's a building that looks like this, then there's a building like, it's not like a master planned industrial site, right? You can have different buildings looking, and I'm not
Yeah.
even, that's just like one piece of it, right? Very minor.
Correct.
That you can, I mean, but you could have a hot pink building and then a bright blue building. Nobody's gonna care, check it. It might be aesthetically pleasing to my granddaughters if it's not big.
yeah.
But not necessarily, so aesthetically pleasing is maybe a recommendation more than a rule.
Oh, no,
No, it's a rule.
no, there's rules.
There's
There are
okay.
rules. So if I may.
Yeah.
You know, this There are requirements for, like no smokestacks or no outdoor storage of raw materials and things like that. There are landscaping buffer standards and architectural requirements. So
Okay.
these are all things listed throughout this entire code. So it's not just empty words.
Okay.
And these are specific standards that are in place that have requirements. So if just to give the example, if you look at where the old Jeep Parkway plan is off of 75 and 475 split, the buildings like that, like Dana, well, that's a manufacturing facility,
Right.
but it's not like smokestacks and refinery type of equipment out there. So it's that type of building
It's more modern looking.
that we're looking to attract something
Okay.
of those
Have-
standards.
Have we done traffic studies in our area?
I'd have to defer to our Paul Roman, who's our public service director.
Through the years, we've done traffic studies. I can tell you for the new Parkway Road, that was designed, for truck traffic. That is the intended route for these properties to develop. And you mentioned corduroy being blocked by trains. Well, most of the heavier truck traffic comes from Michigan. And we do have that traffic take Millard to Front Street to 280. We've been encouraging that as our main truck route versus Wynn Road, but there is some trucks that head east that still use Wynn Road. So it's hard to get away from using Wynn Road for that purpose, but the bulk of our traffic is routed to 280, okay?
Do you ever see anything being prohibited on Wynn, like pound limits or anything like that?
Well, it is listed as a truck route. 80,000 pounds is the Ohio limit. If you need to use Wynn and your weight's over 80,000, it does require a separate permit. And we do try to limit that as much as possible. We try to push all Michigan weight on our more industrial roads to the north. Okay, so Otter Creek Road, Cedar Point Road, they're all built for Michigan traffic, which is 154,000 pounds. Okay. Lallendorf, too, Parkway Road is built for Michigan loads, but Lallendorf south of Seaman is not. Okay, and we try to restrict truck traffic there. So, but Wynn Road is built, it is strong enough for the truck traffic. But with all the buildup, we try to push that truck traffic as much as we can to the north. Okay.
Okay, last question. Why would we not wait to do an updated plan? I know it's expensive. Actually, I have two last questions, sorry. Why would we not wait to update the plan and do it right? And do an updated master plan other than the cost? But sometimes paying on the front end and doing it right and planning appropriately would save money on the back end, right? And really attract not only industrial, but residential. My huge concern also is that we are living in a place that's going to be nice to work, but not nice to live. And it's not, maybe it is all about the money, right? Maybe it is the industry that supports the city. And maybe that's what Oregon becomes. But why if you don't have to? So like plan appropriately on the front end. My last question is, has the Ohio EPA ever done an environmental justice assessment on this area and on the industry to ensure that everybody has a voice? Those with lower socioeconomic, people who are elderly, and any minorities. Have they come in and done anything like that and worked with us as a community? Because that is an Ohio EPA, actually national EPA initiative.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Mr. Mazur, absolutely.
We do have a master plan update in the budget this year, and we are planning to start that process of updating the master plan as soon as we get a consultant on board. So that is budgeted for this year. We, obviously, the Planning Commission will be heavily involved in that, and this is a very public process. So we look forward to everybody's comments, and we take all into consideration for the whole. This is about a 1.5-year process.
Sure.
So my estimate would be that if things go according to plan, that it would be published maybe in the spring of 2025,
Okay.
maybe fall of 2024. We'll see. That's number one. And in your second question was there any EPA environmental justice study done? To my knowledge, no. But that's not something that is for the planning commission or that is something that's outside of the city's jurisdiction or authority. So
Okay.
that's, that the EPA would be, anything from locally would be handled out of the Bowling Green office, the Northwest District office. So as far as to my knowledge, no, that's certainly something I'll follow up on.
Okay, thank you so much. That was it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think the one thing that wasn't addressed either that we kind of skipped over was the EnviroSafe issues that you brought up. Obviously, they're not affected by this. That is a very important issue. I would think that if you want more information, that either the mayor or council or Mr. Mazur is going to have some information on those things. And it's kind of out of our realm for what we're doing today, but.
I'll be opposing that when I have somebody that's probably like, gosh, 1,200 pages. Got some hazardous waste experts in the family. We're gonna be
Okay.
reviewing those.
Well, and that's up to you, but I don't want to say we blew you off tonight. You asked the question and brought it up, but it's certainly not something that is affected by this. And so we're not, it's very important to all of us because we're all residents here. And whether we agree with it or disapprove of it, that's up to each of us. So, okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Can I just ask a question?
Absolutely.
Who's gonna pay for all this?
Who's going to pay for what?
Utilities?
Well, whoever,
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Mazur.
You want the person to talk?
They're
to
in.
come up and-
The sewers and
It's,
gas are in.
just, so you know, and Mr. Chairman, if I could answer, the new road, we actually received a federal economic development grant that paid close to 85% of the project. And so, yeah, there was the local match, but we're talking about a $3 million project. Majority of it was paid with EDA grant funding, just so you know, okay? This is a zoning change, and this is strictly a zoning that still has to go before council. As for the road, that was built with EDA grant dollars, just so you know.
In other words, then, you're not gonna go back down Corduroy Road and start charging people for new utilities to go in there to supply.
Oh, no, the water and sewer has been installed with the grant dollars, and the plan is not to assess where you receive grant dollars. Now, for Corduroy Road and Wynn Road, where there's unsewered areas, you know, traditionally, we let people petition for that type of improvements, and throughout the city, we've assessed for it when it's a public project. I can't say that that won't happen somewhere, because that does happen throughout the city from time to time. That's not the intention here. I know the bulk of the utilities for these areas will be served off of Corridor with infrastructure that's in place. So, okay. I don't know.
Thank you. Anyone else? Beth, come on up. Never.
Beth Ackerman, 931 Beery Road. I would hate myself if I didn't bring to your attention something I've multiple times brought to the attention of the mayor and council and Mr. Major, that there is a approximately 7-acre federal wetland on the Cone property, which is one of the parcels that you want to alter. And I understand, you know, it's a very complicated subject because you're trying to balance industry and job creation. And I do empathize with what the city's trying to do. And when you say, you know, you've already made up your mind, this is what it's going to be. The 2025 plan shows that it's going to be commercial, industrial, developed. It's funny because I brought up the 2025 plan and some of the aspects of environmental protection that we had, and it was dismissed as, you know, it's archaic, it's outdated, the wrong people showed up. We're gonna have a do-over. So I hope you guys get on the same page about whether the 2025 plan should be applied, or we should, or not, or we should ignore it, or we're gonna cherry pick it, or we're gonna wait till we redo it and see what, get it up with the times of what we know now. If you know to do better, do better. It's on you now. So, once again, if you change that, and I brought it up at the council meeting, and they just stare at you. I don't really get answers. But according to the Oregon Economic Development site, this location has had, is when it says site due diligence. Phase 1 environmental site assessment completed, no. Phase 2 ESA completed, no. Geotechnical study completed, no. Wetlands delineation completed, no. Archaeological study completed, no. Endangered species study completed, no. And I would add a historical aspect also should be looked into, because there is strong evidence to suggest that there may be one of the early pioneers is buried in the woods in this area. And I just think due diligence. And I know you want it done, and I know, you guys go so far, not you, not talking to the four of you, but go so far as to place properties up in here for sale as available as industrial. You get your cart before the horse far too many times. And to the point where Regional Growth Partnership doesn't even list our properties anymore because it's become a farce. So what are you doing? What's the plan for the agricultural impact, environmental impact? I've heard zero. And I think a lot of people want to know, given, as we head toward the biggest week in birding, what's Oregon doing to show that we have a conscience about the environment? I don't know who, I always ask questions and I just get stared at a lot. So anybody wants to answer, I'd appreciate it.
Mr. Chair, I can start.
You can start.
Okay, and Alec, if you want to back me up, but I believe that the Phase 1 environmental site assessment stated that there was no requirement for a Phase 2 environmental site assessment. Is that correct?
That is correct. The phase 1 was just completed.
As in like the last couple of days, because this was just off your website.
So that website's very intricate. That's actually a website within a website that I have to go to the county to update. So it gets kind of tricky. It goes to 3 people in order to update it. But yes, just within, middle of January, they came back to us and said, so a couple days, a month.
So the vote will already have happened before the public is aware of it.
Sure.
I'm not saying, I mean,
So the Oregon Economic Development.
We're not
Authority,
developing
as
it.
you well know, is a private entity. You don't have an
So-
obligation to make anything.
well, you're not a private entity because city, taxpayer dollars change hands from, there are no taxpayer dollars. I believe I've sat in here while there have been votes that have placed funds from the city of Oregon over to the OEDF. And that money came out of,
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm that the Phase 1 stated that there was no Phase 2 required. Okay. And part of the process is that typically the foundation will have some of these, like Phase 1 environmental site assessment. A bank is going to need that for lending. And a property owner, especially if an industrial, anything sizable, is going to want that anyways. So to have that completed ahead of time just helps them, saves a little time, and gives a little more information. But there's really no requirement to have any of these other studies done for them, for their development. A lot of this property, a lot of it's still, some of it's owned by the OEDF, but I guess what I'm getting at is, an archaeological study, all the environment, what they call them, the environmental studies, right? Just lumping them all together. If that's something that a site selector or a company would want to do, that would be something that we could work with them on, but rather than spend all of the money up front for something that maybe they don't even need, now the Phase 1, we know that they're going to need. If it requires a Phase 2, we'll look into doing that too. But all of these other studies, they might not require them as part of their development. So
How-
that
how-
would be something that, excuse me.
If it's a federal
Excuse me, if I
wetland-
could
I'm
finish.
sorry,
If
I'm
I could
sorry.
finish. That might not be something that they would be required to do. And that's not up to us to decide. If they want to develop something, they go through the permitting process. And whatever additional studies, if they use federal funding or anything like that, then yeah, they would likely need to do things like this. But at this time, that's not what the foundation is doing. It's marketed as having a phase one, a phase two not required, and all of the other documentation. This is what we have on, it's not like it's a turnkey property, but there are some due diligence things that the developer would have to do on their own. So, and these matters, just for reference, these wouldn't be things that the planning commission would address. This is just strictly a zoning request for zoning change. So.
Well, then
just-
I would.
That's
Oh, Go ahead.
that's just the one last thing I wanted to state is that rather than get involved in a lot of expenses and a bunch of different studies that may or may not be required, we're doing the minimum to make this property attractive to a site selector so that when they do select the site or they do want to move here, then we can take that next step forward and work with them on however they want to pay for, or whoever wants to pay for the remaining studies. So that would be my comment to that.
So then I would just address it for review that having gone through this a little bit myself and having and I understand quite intimately what the cost of doing a wetland delineation is. And in Mr. Beasley's defense, he acknowledged when there was a federal wetland on a property, even if he said in his opinion it was easily mitigated or not. I think for you to change the zoning on a federal wetland will give a black eye to the Oregon area as far as it will not go unnoticed. There will be a wetland delineation. There will be a requirement for an assessment. Do you even know if there's a bald eagle nest in there? I mean, we have bat habitat that the city was willing to just look past. When we had our wetland delineation done, the wetland goes out into the field. I guess what I'm asking is, when will Oregon show that they are conscientious about and understanding the need for development? Because we have plenty of other properties that I wish the city would focus on that have been sitting empty and give the same incentives and attention to them being developed. But there's so few acres of these federal wetlands. Do we really want to go on the books as, yeah, we changed it because we just totally don't care. It doesn't matter to us. It doesn't fall into, like on your site, why did you bother to put wetland delineation completed? No. Archaeological study completed? No. Endangered species study completed? No. Apparently you know that it is critical to somebody to know those things. And you just want to say, we're gonna change it. It's an industrial park in our eyes. We don't see any environmental concern here. You're not even willing to look to see if there is a concern or not, or if it needs to be mitigated. It's like things have gotten worse in the last 2 years and not gotten better. You're less enlightened about it or less educated, or you just choose to turn a blind eye. And so I would just ask, before you proceed with this, consider that it will go down and, it will not be ignored. That even if you change that zoning, that you just decided, well, we're going to just change it and you can build a factory there and we don't care. That will be the stance of the city of Oregon. I just wanted that as a matter of record.
Mr.
Thank-
Chairman, if I may. Mrs. Ackerman, I understand where you're coming from.
I don't think you do.
I respectfully disagree with what you said. We answer those questions because we want to be upfront and honest. The site selectors and people of industry come. Those studies will have to be done if somebody ultimately comes. That everybody understands that. It's a matter of they need to know what studies have been conducted so they know what studies, again, it's a cost to have that done. At the foundation, we don't run on $1 billion budget. We can't go do studies across all of Oregon. So it takes time and it costs money. Those are things that we don't have in order to the resources, we don't have to do that all the time, especially if we don't need to, when another private developer is likely gonna come in and take care of those studies. It would be irresponsible for us to spend our money to do that, when they know those studies have to be conducted, they will spend their own money.
Okay, that's because that's your bread and butter, but you're proving my point that the environment isn't on your radar at all. And the quality of life, air quality, water quality is of no concern to you. Let whoever build
Ms.
whatever.
Ackerman, you're starting to sound
Okay.
like MSNBC right now. You
Oh,
really are. You
Lord,
got some
don't-
talking points
That was a
going. That's
low
great.
blow, sir.
That's great. So you are. You're coming up with the talking points that Alec and this board, if we vote for this, we want dirty water, dirty air.
No, you're right,
And I
you're
feel
right,
like
you're right.
I'm Sean Hannity trying
Oh,
to
good
protect
God.
myself
No,
at this
no,
point.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I do. I really do. And you're coming in here and you're telling us that we don't care about water, clean property, clean wetlands and the such. You're telling us we don't. I do. I care. I'm here on this board because I
wasn't-
care.
I was talking about.
Well, I'm the chairman of this board and I'm telling you, we care. And our job here is to determine whether or not this application is appropriate and whether or not this land use that they're proposing is appropriate for that location. Whether or not there are wetlands, whether or not this proposal is the wrong place at the wrong time, that's not for us to decide. Our decision is based upon whether or not this location and this request is the appropriate for that location. Our opinion, the first time back in November, was yes, by this board's vote, that this is the proper location for, at the time, both advanced manufacturing and commercial industrial. Tonight, we're voting on advanced manufacturing. My opinion is not going to change on all of this location. And it's not because I want dirty water or dirty air or don't care about the wetlands or some pioneer who may be buried out there. It's not that I don't care about those things. It's that whether or not this is the appropriate use of this land at this time.
So the fact that it's a federal wetland is.
I don't know if it is. Is it?
Yeah, it is. And that's.
Mr. Chairman,
again,
it
due
may be.
diligence, due diligence.
It may be.
No,
That
it is.
5.2.
Do you want to see? 'em?
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Mayor
I
Sperry.
listen,
If
I'm
you've
used
done
to
your
listening.
homework, you know that it's a federal wetland.
Well, then that's something that the developer is going to run into.
I will go 5.2 acres of that maybe. And a delineation study has not been conducted to confirm that. But we treat it as such that it is. And so would anybody else that would take ownership of that property. They would have to deal with the Army Corps of Engineers, who is the policing agency. And any change of this zoning has no effect on how that wetland is treated. They police it the same way. They police it even more stringently if it is a commercial zoning or industrial zoning than as an agricultural zoning. Agricultural is treated a little lighter. So you can smile, which you always do. You have your condescending remarks about everything we say. I'm taking it that I am the one that is not included in this board because you said 4 of them. There's 5 of us up here. I also do care. I was here through most of the battles that the city of Oregon had with the EnviroSafe, where we sat countless meetings. I rarely seen you here, but I didn't say that you didn't care then, but I'm just saying we do care. You point a finger predominantly at me at most everything you do. I know you have an obsession against me, thinking I'm a bad person. That's your opinion. A lot of other people do not share that opinion. But you go on with whatever crusade you have to try to destroy any credibility I have, which you do all the time. But I also have an obligation to see to it that the city of Oregon has financing, and most of our finances come from our 2 1/4 payroll income tax. That is our bread and butter. People come in here and expect the city to pay for all their services and take care of the needs of the city. We've declared this to be an industrial area for the city. It is not going to be developed with subdivisions in this area. Parks are not going to happen there. We are here to determine what is the best use. we created advanced manufacturing because it's of a lesser impact than M1 and M2. It's lighter, because we cared. You may not agree with it, and I'm sure you'll have comments and the contrary to that, but we do care about the city. We do have to answer to all the people in the city that expect the city will have income to take care of their public services, and this is one of the aspects of that. And I myself will support this also because I haven't found a reason not to.
Considering that you're on the heels of the highest income tax year you've had in how long? So we're really not in dire need of further industrialization, but I understand your personal feelings toward me, this, likewise, Mike, and that's why I address them, because you've proven to me that you're I know your feelings toward me. I don't, that's why I'm addressing these gentlemen. If you've already decided that that's going to be an industrial area, advanced manufacturing, it's going to be developed with no regard toward the impact that it would have on that wetland. That's the answer. You've given me your answer. Then I will continue to fight for the protection of those very few acres that Oregon possesses of actual forest shrub wetland. But that was, I guess I got my answer. So thank you.
Thank you.
You'll fight to protect them no harder than we do. So I guess we're equals in that area of protecting the wetlands. And we'll both be regulated by the Army Corps of Engineers.
One more on the Oregon Economic Development Foundation. You mentioned that it's private, so like no transparency is required, but it says on your website that it's a public-private partnership between the business community and the city of Oregon. I know it's powered by investors, so that's probably private. But I think when there is some kind of engagement, it's a group of Oregon business owners and city officials with the vision to facilitate growth and change. I don't think transparency occurs, because the optics of it are that this is a foundation based on your website, very much engaged in here. I mean, you're here, I know it's for the zoning change, but you hear more frequently too. So that's all I'm saying. No personal anything, but the optics are, there's very much like, and I really look at it like maybe if I see for a vote. But just something to think about, to put it out there. Because I think it'd be better for everybody if you just said, yeah, this is what it is, let's not call it something else.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sir?
My name is Nick Corey. I reside at 4714 Corduroy. My question is 4701, 4713, both advanced manufacturing. No one resides in either of these homes. What is going to happen with these homes? I mean, are they going to be torn down? Are they going to be rented out, or what's going to happen? But they're both empty now.
Mr. Mather?
Mr. Chair, that's right. As of right now, there is no plan for that. I mean, it's up to a developer, a site selector that would want to come in. I believe that one home is occupied. Is that?
Neither home is occupied.
Neither home is occupied. Okay. At this time, there's really no plan for it. This is just to change the zoning designation for the parcels. So that would be up for discussion with a potential developer. So however they want to develop the site in the future, whatever site selector comes in or whatever happens with the site, it would be up to them. So at this moment in time, the houses would stay. It's just a matter of when a site selector would come in to develop the site. I hope that answers your question. So I don't know if that does or not.
My guess would be if somebody purchased it, they would tear those houses
Pardon?
down. My assumption would be if someone would purchase that property for development, they would tear those houses down.
In the meantime, it's empty. It's kind of
And
I live right across.
It's an eyesore.
So it kind of bothers me, you know, at night, stuff, things.
It's starting to happen. We'll check in, we'll certainly check into that, and if you leave your information, we'll share that with you, what we can find out, if there's desirability to get them
Okay,
tore down.
all right.
I understand there's bad activities could take place there is what you were about.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
We
not
can-
the
we
only.
can-
one,
huh?
but Yes, you're right.
We can pick up police activity around there
Okay,
and
thank you.
we'll do that.
No, there's some here.
It is what it is.
I just want to make sure I'm doing the same, that I'm duplicative instead of doing something different.
Mr. Chairman, if there's no further questions, I'd like to close the public hearing.
So moved.
I'll second.
Second. All in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no opposition, the public hearing is closed. Any discussion from the board? The only comment I have is, and I was checking this with Tina and Cass. I believe at the last hearing, I recused myself from vote because I have represented the Oregon Economic Development Foundation in the past as an attorney. And I can tell you that the only thing that I've done over the years has been to update their bylaws and their regulations. I have not been involved in any decision-making process nor know anything that's going on other than that Mr. Thompson has said here, and certainly have not been involved in a legal capacity. But I believe that in November, I recused myself and did not vote on this matter. If I were to vote, my vote would obviously be yes, as I had stated with Ms. Ackerman. But I think I'm going to recuse again, just to be consistent with where I was in November. Thank you.
That being said, a motion is order for Z 815-23.
Mr. Chairman, I would move for passage of Z 815 of 23.
Second.
Is that Greg?
Roll, please.
Mayor Safarian?
Yes.
Mr. Breezlar?
Yes.
Mr. Olive?
Yes.
Mr. Orvitz?
Yes.
Mr. Winkowski?
Abstain.
Mr. Chair, I would also move for passage of Z 816-23.
Second.
Roll, please.
Mayor Safarian?
Yes.
Mr. Breezlar?
Yes.
Mr. Olive?
Yes.
Mr. Orvitz?
Yes.
Mr. Winkowski?
Yeah, abstain, please. I believe that covers everything on the agenda today. If so,
Chairman.
we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, everyone, for your input.
Okay, let's see.
But I thought this time I don't.